Um,
So,
um, yeah, go for it.
yeah, so today I'm hosting this. So, for anyone, let me start with my introduction. I'm Kane the Dragon. I've been a streamer of like Gacha games and stuff and other sorts of variety stuff over the past 13 years, give or take. Um, so, I've been sort of like here in the YouTube scene for a decent while for the most part. If for the any of you that's new to my channel specifically, as you can see, I have a camera on here. Usually, I don't speak on cam. That's mostly just for like I don't like having my place plastered all around the internet. Not necessarily that I'm camera shy or anything. So for situations like this, though, I'll be perfectly fine with camera and so forth. And then I do have some history with PGR as well. So we might be going over a couple of those stuff in relation to Wuwa and overall the general idea, like with Kuro and like how they um, stylize things with like their writing and stuff. So yeah, that's some things to talk about and so forth. And yeah, that's pretty much my introduction for the most part. Now, Life, if you would like to, do yours.
So, just for clarity, this is recording, right? This is recording right now?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Well, hello. Yeah, my name's Life. This is Life Lessons from Life Lessons Gaming. I do lore and story discussions on my channel. And yeah, Kane was basically letting me know that he had some thoughts that he wanted to share with me and kind of chop it up a little bit about the lore for Wuthering Waves. I was like, okay, yeah, why not? Let's go. So
Yep,
yeah, that's why I'm here.
yep. So yeah, um, I have 18 items here. I guess we'll go straight into it. I don't know how
Mm,
if we'll be able to get over into everything, but we'll do what we can with the time frame that you have allotted. And again, thanks again for coming on, Life. I definitely appreciate it. So I guess
my
we'll
pleasure.
start with the first thing that I have listed here is the timeline and the whole looping thing. So I saw you were talking about with some other people like Ryuku and Amanda that your thoughts on the loop isn't necessarily that it's quite consistent, or rather, it's constrained to like a specific area. I'd like you to expand a little bit more on that, and then I'll go in my own thoughts with it.
Got it. All right. So, I have to be honest. There's certain things that I will say now. I'll answer to the best of my ability. Um, Reason why is because there are some things that I'm keeping secret or special or whatever for a video that I have coming out soon. So I will answer. I'll still give an answer, but it'll just be there might be little things. But yeah, basically my understanding of the loop is, and just for clarity, we're talking about IMyth, right? The IMyth loop.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So basically, my understanding of that loop is that Rover enters. Well, to be explicit about it, Aleph one. That's the Threnodian.
Mhm.
Pardon me. Aleph one, the Threnodian. Essentially, it's weird because it basically is its insides. That's what Iman said. It's like the inside of Aleph one is void space. So, what does that mean about Aleph one? Is Aleph one just a? I think she referred to it as a hulking mass or a
Mhm.
bulking mass. Um, so void space is not necessarily Aleph one, or like void space is Aleph one, but Aleph one might not necessarily be void space. If that makes sense.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and so basically, it seems to me that the second that Aleph one touched down onto Solaris 3, at that point, everything became possible, basically. But only that which entered it. That's the key part. So only the things that entered into Aleph 1 um, sets off, the chain of events. Once again, when it comes to time, and this is, I would say
Hmm.
this is probably like my first. I have actually watched the anime Steins Gate. A lot
Yep.
of people talk about that. I need to, but this is my first, soiree, I guess you could say, into time
Right.
related type stories outside of like Back to the Future. And essentially, think about Void Space as a almost like a server or a hub.
Hmm.
And but in this particular situation, anything that's ever entered void space at any time, any point in time, has the capability to interact, obviously, like I've said, with each other. So when Aleph One hit touchdown on a Solaris 3, everything became possible at that point. That's essentially how it seems to be the case. So nothing, but I will say that is the origin point. So like
Hmm.
nothing can technically go before that, which is okay. Okay. I'm gonna do you. I'm gonna do you one. I'm gonna do you a solid. All right. I
Okay.
haven't talked about this in a video yet. I'm planning to, but I believe that that is how the etheric sea works
Hmm. Interesting.
in a similar way. Because essentially, with the etheric sea, it's my belief that the space lady, she used the etheric sea obviously to send a rover. From what we see, right? I think that the Hess civilization, and I mean, it's not even really like crazy, but it's just kind of when you put the dots together. The
Hmm.
mass relay device,
Yeah. Yeah.
that was used being powered by the etheric sea. So in the same way, the etheric sea, I think the space lady used the etheric sea in the same way to send a rover to
Right.
Solaris 3 as a mass relay device,
Hmm.
basically. And so when you consider that fact, the reason why I brought this up is because, like I said, Alpha One being the origin point, the space lady could not have done what she did had the etheric sea not been there.
Gotcha.
Meaning she could not have done like the mission. The,
Hmm.
the Hess civilization required the etheric sea
To
to
be
complete their
present.
mission.
Yeah.
So therefore, because if you think about it this way,
Hmm.
if the Hess civilization's goal or rover's mission is to stop the lament, but they had to use the etheric sea to send a rover there, there's because theoretically you could probably say like, I'm okay. I'm gonna keep my mouth closed on that.
Well, yeah, yeah, yeah. Go.
Like I said, what I'll say is that they needed the etheric sea to be present. If the etheric
Interesting.
sea was not present, um, they they would not have been able to send a rover. And so in the same way with Aleph One, Aleph One is the origin point. Meaning with Imeth's situation, she couldn't go before Aleph One hit Soul 3
Right.
because Aleph One didn't exist and Void Space didn't exist on Soul 3 at that time. She could only go as far back as Aleph One's origin point.
Hmm.
I know that was a lot,
That's
and
that.
I
Yeah, yeah.
like
That's definitely a lot. That's an interesting way to think about it. I actually didn't even consider taking into account like the whole mass relay device and stuff. Though your bit about like the whole etheric sea and stuff does kind of track, especially considering the first initial video for Wuthering Waves that we saw pre-release in going into like the etheric sea and coming out and seeing Junjo and so forth.
mhm.
And it also tracks with what we recently saw in 3.1 with the recording log on the space station. So that's
How'd
an
you feel when you saw
interesting,
that?
yeah, that's an interesting angle that you were coming with that because I actually didn't really think too much about it until like you mentioned that that's part of like what your thoughts are on it, and you do have to consider that they were studying the etheric sea particles at the time. So, like those
Yeah,
etheric sea particles probably are like partially where we came out, along with like the whole it spreading at that same point in time.
yeah.
Um, my take on it, like the whole with the whole loop on it, is pretty more closer to like what you would probably see in Steins Gate, or another potential example would be the Fate series, particularly the games, which you could probably pick up on Steam, Fate Extella and stuff. where there's like multiple timelines going on concurrently, basically.
Mm.
So what happens is like ever since like as you were saying like with the whole void space and Aleph One being the origin point, my take on that is the loop isn't broken yet as we find Ameth, but rather that loop is still going on and it's gonna continue and do its own thing. Whereas Ameth itself, because of like the way her cycle is, she herself is trapped in that like void space like period loop. But eventually, like my theory on my theory on this is the plurality of timelines. So like when that gets broken, that'll be its own timeline, and then there will be other timelines where Ameth is still obviously going through that loop, and then Rover coming in and break it. But the main reason why I think about this like this is mostly because of how like Steins Gate and Fate Extella do their timelines and stuff, where they do have like multiple points that stem from like a specific origin point and go on into infinity. So with that, like,
If you don't mind,
yeah,
because I did technically do like a little bit of an aside, but just so that the people know, my whole view on it. My view is that, like I said, Aleph One, void space enters, possibilities become possible, and so essentially everything technically starts when Imeth becomes a ghost. I'm actually going to be kind of getting into that a little bit in the next video that I have coming out. But yeah, when she becomes a ghost, when she 10 years ago, which is we just kind of have to take their word for it because we don't really see signs of it in the game. The thing that Imeth said happened 10 years ago where the seal was like loosening and the Therodi was going to come out, and so she did the initial overclock version of her resonance or whatever, and then after that 10 years later, she meets us or sees us again rather, and gets strong enough to be able to resonate with it without having to overclock. So when she did that initially, that's obviously when she was in void space, and then that's kind of what set off the chain of events of she said she got her message like, oh, I got a message from myself telling me what I did in the future, and in the future I go to the past. And so that's kind of how I view it, where it's just like, if I were to do like 1 2 3,
right.
it's overclock resonate, 10 years later, or well, yeah, overclock resonate. Then after resonating, 10 years later, she goes into the past to stop Aleph One. So that would be like the middle point. Because she stopped Aleph One, Lahai Roy essentially is what it is. Like, because essentially what the story did was establish square one.
Yeah,
Like, we're just back to square one. Like, it explained how we got to where we were. And so she does that, and because she saves Lahai Roy to begin with, then that's when Rover is able to, past Rover is able to come to Lahai Roy as a student, save Child Imeth, and kind of keep the whole thing going. But as Rover said, the cause and effect chain happened initially. Well, it was already in effect, basically. It happened initially when she originally overclock resonated. So, and then,
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And pretty much, yeah, like as I was saying, like, I guess like there's like
Steins Gate.
two different, yeah, Steins Gate and stuff. It's basically like two different ways to do like the whole time travel stuff. PGR in general actually did like that sort of like similar situation to like what yours suggesting, where it's like a single linear time.
Really?
Yeah, so like there's specific events which are big spoilers, so I won't go into too much details on it. But basically, a lot of like the major events that happened in like the lore and backstory of PGR happened because of a specific thing that happened in PGR's future, and then what happened is something got sent back in time, and that caused a whole chain of effects of other things that happened in the actual main story. So like it's a sort
that
of
sounds like what exactly, yeah.
yeah, it's a more linear style of sort of like timeline world building and stuff. So that's definitely.
I will say this though.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's easier to do that for games. Not so much like a visual novel. Obviously,
Right.
Fate as a series, like they have like a billion endings anyway, so it's a lot easier to work with that. But when it comes to games, I feel like having too many like quote unquote parallel universes
Right.
like might be difficult to manage in terms of like the game's lore. If it's like if it's not like an anime, it works. A movie, it works.
Hmm.
Visual novel style game works. But yeah, I feel like it just kind of makes a little bit more. It meshes a little bit better if
Hmm.
it's that way. But that's just kind of my thought process on it.
Yep. Okay. I think that's a good amount of time into that specific
Yeah.
topic. We might go over some other things in some of my next ones. But the next thing, I know you're probably cooking up something with this in your future video, so we won't go into too much detail on it. But this is all about like what you've probably been seeing in the fandom right now with 2.8 and Chisa.
Don't do it.
Yeah. We won't. I guess we will avoid going too much into detail with that.
You can
But
ask your question. I'll answer.
basically,
Yeah.
what people have like noticed on that was specifically like the whole meteor shower, and then
Mhm.
forgetting, and then the achievement that popped up right after that, the story you don't know.
Yeah. So what I will say is this. I think I'll take this in a little bit of a different route because I have a very different opinion than a lot of the stuff I've seen online. And it's not just me trying to be a contrarian. Like I as anybody who's seen my videos, I back up everything I say. If I did my research and I came out with the opinion that other people had, then I'd be like, oh yeah, this was a great. Turns out we were all under some collective psychosis. I mean, technically they already are, but it turns out I'm a part of it. But now I think it's really cool. I think what I would like to say on that mainly is kind of to speak about it from a more meta perspective. Just Kuro, good job. Like
Mm-hmm.
I promise you, everybody skipped 2.8, dude. Like so many people were just like, oh yeah, it's a filler patch. Oh yeah, blah blah. That 2.8 was one of like the worst times in the community outside of like the crazy enough to say the anniversary. Because people were just like, how when the community starts like focusing on not stuff that's not related to the game.
Mm-hmm.
That's how like, oh my gosh, she
Yeah.
called him or her senpai. And it's just like, yeah, related to the game, but I mean, like it is, but it's not. But like, point is, everybody slept on 2.8, and I've actually
Mm-hmm.
had some people because I talked to people, and I was trying to explain to people. I was like, no, it's not. Like, I understand your perspective on it for sure, and yeah, it was like a mixture, for sure, of like seemingly filler, slice of lifey, whatever. But in reality, like if you actually take a step back and look at the entire thing,
Yep. There's
the
definitely.
whole thing was important.
Mm-hmm.
Like genuinely, every single part of that thing. The first half. Now, I will say this: I think that they did not do the best job on the first half. Um, I felt the first half had an identity crisis. Like, either be pure like psychological mystery, explore the city thing, or be this whole like trying to understand Chisa's feelings about her past stuff. I feel like all the Chisa past stuff should have been pushed in the second half, and the first half just in like an action movie, action mystery style movie. And I think that would have actually helped people's like expectations a bit better
Right. And
because it
make
felt
it,
like they were just trying to do both at the same time.
yeah, easier for them like to look into it. Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty good analysis. Me, I sort of like bench it all in one go because I did it after the patch release, more recently, like in 3.0. So like,
Oh, okay. How did you
I
feel
don't
about it
have.
then?
Hmm.
How
Pardon?
did you feel about it then when you played
I
it?
think I enjoyed it for the most part, but as like I've mentioned, like if you can kind of guess, like I am a visual novel like kind of guy, so like I sort of
Yeah.
vibe with that stuff more easily, and I don't think
Mhm.
too much on it. As far as like it taking me out of like immersion and stuff and going through reading, because I mean obviously I play PGR, I've played um, Fate games as well. And heck, I've even played Umineko, which I was actually gonna mention it in one of my items here. That the whole like if you remember like the whole Amos picture book and stuff, and the achievement you got out of that, it cannot be seen without love. That's actually a Umineko reference.
Okay. You referred
Um,
to the one when we were inside of her mindscape the second time.
no, after 3.1 story, when you go back to the cabin.
Okay, 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 okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, okay, I
yeah.
remember that now. I remember that. Yep.
Yeah, that's a little Umineko reference achievement that you get there. And I thought that was pretty funny.
So
Um,
you ate 2.8 up then, basically. Like
Pretty
that was your
much.
speed.
Yeah.
I actually like the second part more than the first part. Even though like I'm not like quote unquote the target audience for the more like romance style of stories. This is not my thing personally. My wife loves that type of stuff, but just for me, it was just like, all right, you know. But the thing about it is, I thought it was handled very well, and that's why I told people I was like, even if I'm not the target audience for this type of storytelling, I can still acknowledge that it was handled very well. Like the animations that they did, like the transitions, the music, it felt like I was watching a slice of life anime,
Yeah,
like the
definitely.
final episode of Fruits Basket or something.
Yeah, the scene slating has just been absolutely good and killer in really most of the recent patches.
Yep, 100%. Like I said,
Um
3.0 is so good.
So yeah, outside of that, like the other thing I did want to mention with Chisa, which again I'm pretty sure it's going to be more of a major point with your video, so I won't go into too much detail. But like her whole resonance ability and stuff being like a reference to the Fate series, sort of ish. Technically, it's side part of the Fate series. Kara no Kyokai, or rather Garden of Sinners, like her entire
Mm,
Chisa's entire resonance ability is basically the mystic eyes of death perception in that series, which is
okay.
something that's primarily popular with the two characters, Shiki Tono and Shiki Ryogi. Specifically, in Chisa's case, this would be more closer to Ryogi's version of the mystic eyes. But yeah,
Yeah, I've actually seen that floating around. Because I've seen Fate, but not all of it. I think, where's the last thing we watched? Fate Zero, Fate Stay Night, Unlimited Blade Works. Think that was it. I wanted to watch. I think what? No, no, no. We started watching the movies. I think they are
yeah, yeah.
that focus on the girl with the purple hair, and I feel bad because I liked her.
Yep, Heaven's Feel. Yep.
Um, Heavensfield. Thank you. Yeah.
Hmm.
So we were watching Heavensfield, and then I really want to see Apocrypha. I think it is
Oh yeah, Apocrypha.
with Quetzalcoatl. I think her name is right.
Apocrypha Kets. No, that's Babylonia.
Babylonia. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that one looked so sick. So I'm sure you probably know what I'm talking about.
Yep, yep.
There's that scene where she's like basically
Yeah,
carrying
flipping
dudes
around.
and
Hmm.
eating it. I was like, okay, that looks sick. I gotta get to that point.
Yeah, Kets
But
is great. I remember watching that when it first came out. It was quite the feeling, especially like as a FGO player as well, because I also played
my
FGO back in the day.
condolences. My
Yep, I
condolences.
know, I know how it felt.
That game is. I've heard about that game. I'm like, yo, that's
Hmm.
whoo, that's OG days, OG
Yep,
days of the Gacha. I'm a baby
yep,
compared to y'all.
for sure. But yeah, the FGO adaptation so far have been really killing it. Hopefully, maybe we'll get more stuff coming up with like the Lost Belts and stuff. That'll be definitely interesting because there's a lot of deep stuff that goes down with it.
Got you.
But yeah, outside of that, like I definitely would recommend looking into Kara no Kyokai, or rather Garden of Sinners. I believe it's on Crunchyroll
Okay,
if you have Crunchyroll.
I
Um,
do.
so yeah, it's a series of like 7, 8 movies, give or take. And
Oh,
it's
okay.
all really good. It's could probably bust it out in like maybe 2 to 3 days because it's 8 movies, like an hour, 2 hours each. So
Okay. No, if it's there, then we'll probably watch it because, like I said, we've just been like systematically kind of going through them. We
right.
took a little break. I can't remember for what reason. But yeah, we'll definitely at some point get through those. But yeah, like I said, back to like I said, just with Cheese and everything. I think Chisa. What I will say is, I think Chisa's going to definitely play a big role going forward. There have been, it's really interesting. I guess I'm at a point where it's just like whatever works. And the reason why I'm saying that is because there were like so many people up in arms about the lack of Chisa presence in 3.0. And I'm just like, look, man, that's cool. And I'm happy that like people are starting to like focus and talk about the story. But like, y'all, this has been happening for a while. And
Yeah.
it was one of those things like, okay, it's because your favorite character is the one who's not showing up. Now you have an issue. Meanwhile, I'm back in 2 point wondering where Phoebe was
Yep.
for like
Phoebe.
80 patches. And I'm just like, yeah, welcome to the party. Like first time here.
Mm-hmm.
So but yeah, like I said, whatever works. As long I'm happy with the state of the community. It's going in a good direction, I think, right now, where people are actually talking about the story more. For those who don't know, I've been covering this game story since closed beta test one, the OG day zero. So it's nice. It's definitely nice to see, and yeah, I think Cheese is definitely going to play a big role. Like I said, look out for the video. I think it'll probably hopefully come out next weekend, maybe sometime this week at the very latest. I think it'll be out next weekend though.
Huh?
But yeah, we're cooking. We're cooking.
Okay. Now, as for the next topic, Aleph-1 and Rover's frequency that Amos found in it. What do you think? Personally, my take is that because of the whole time looping thing, there's effectively like 3 rovers at basically any point in time. So obviously you have the rover of the present that saved young Amos and put her back to the rover of the past. But then there's also the rover that got inside Aleph 1 in the void space there and was saved by Amos, which obviously, like, we don't really see too much about it, but the fact that, like, that rover is still. That the fact that, like, there's a frequency inside Aleph 1 before, like, Amos found the other frequency with Rover, my thoughts is potentially that it's possible that with how timeline works inside Aleph 1, that the frequency that Amos found is basically the rover that she saved what before she actually went about saving that rover. Because you saw like how when he was going into void space and saving young Amos, like he was like fading out and disappearing basically.
Yeah.
That's like my thoughts. Because again, timeline dilation and all that stuff would technically account for that, which it could mean that Amos found Rover's frequency left over from that time when he got in there in void space. What's your thoughts?
Yeah. So the more you describe it, I feel like we're not really talking about that different of a thing. Because when you say like 3 rovers, for me, I'm just like I sort of I get the idea. I think it's all still the same rover, and I think the difference maybe being that perhaps you think of it as like 3 different timelines, whereas for me, I think of it all as the same timeline, just existing across voids. Like if void space didn't operate the way it did, I'd probably be more amenable to the multiple timelines. Also, like I said, the meta reason that I explained with the
Mm-hmm.
fact that as a game having multiple timelines
Yeah.
would probably be very hard to juggle. But um, I believe essentially kind of similar thing. Like void space, literally, if you go in, you can exist at any time.
Mm-hmm.
And so as a result, like literally his frequencies were being sucked up into void space like since 2.8. So, it's like, you know, um, the likelihood that she found his frequency at the moment that Rover has now entered into void space and, his specifically his frequencies being absorbed, that part, those things can exist at any time. Meaning when she was at that time in the future, well, okay, no, actually, technically, at that time, it was 10 years ago because it was after she overclocked and became a ghost.
Mm-hmm.
Then she's basically going on her little journeys and she finds his frequency. That frequency could have just been future Rover's frequency, the one who was being, absorbed.
Yep.
So, yeah, like, hopefully, I mean, that might, it's a quote unquote boring answer, but it's just like that's kind of how void space works.
Yep,
Like,
for the
so yeah,
most part.
it probably is just future. Now, I will say one thing. Okay, this is a I haven't mentioned this in a video yet, and to be honest, I'm trying to think. I have so many different video ideas right now that I'm working on, and I don't even know if this one fits. It's really just one of those like I probably would have made a short about it or something. Probably should at some point. Um, I think that the Exostrider that she found is the Exostrider that we have.
That's like let me rephrase this, I guess, in a little bit, just so I'm understanding where you're cooking with this. So like from what we know of the story, like it was sort of already mentioned that the extra strider we have is the extra strider that was found inside void space. Because again, like the whole plurality and things existing at any point, at everywhere, and so forth.
Yeah.
So like there is already that connection there going in the actual story of the plot. So like can you care to elaborate more on like what makes this a little bit different than that?
So, I mean, the reality is we've never seen or been introduced to the concept that the Exostrider that was she found that was destroyed is the same Exostrider. Like everybody's under the assumption that there are two Exostriders. There's the one she found because that's why everybody's asking, "Oh, what happened to the Sentinel that thing was carrying?" And I would say Sentinels even potentially, because I'm kind of at a point where I feel like the Exostrider brought multiple Sentinels. Like I don't think that there are
Mm-hmm.
multiple Sentinels. I mean, multiple Exostriders being sent to individual planets. It's probably the case. That thing's huge. First of all, like it's insane how big that thing is. Like it dwarfs Sentinels even because you look at like Joy. Joy is big to Gen C, but even with how big Joy is to Gen C, that thing is like if you've seen I don't know if you've seen some of the scale things that people found where like you can there's this somebody got into the game files and there's a picture of Imeth, right?
Ah.
And it looks like she's just in this gray area, like this light gray area. Because all you see is Imeth and then like a gray backdrop, like she's standing on a gray thing. They zoomed out for like a hot minute and turns out that that gray backdrop that looks like the sky,
Mm-hmm.
the up, down, left and right, was the head of the Exostrider. It
Oh,
was so huge, and like even my description might not be giving it justice. Like it was so big that it just looked like the world around her. Just
gotcha,
great, like you know,
gotcha.
like if you go into like a blender or something, and you just have that
Right. Yeah.
infinite gray backdrop. That's what it looked like, and that's how huge this thing was. If Gen C stood on Joy's head, you would still see Joy's head. You would see details of Joy's head. Now this is like if Gen C was standing on a green rock or in like a green backdrop,
Mm-hmm.
and then you zoomed out enough to realize that that green was just one scale from Joy, and then you keep zooming out enough, and then you don't even see her anymore. That's how big the Exostrider is. And so as a result, I think that it probably was carrying multiple Sentinels. And essentially, um, I think that the Exostrider that she found connected to Rover's frequencies was the same Exostrider that we currently have in the Frostlands. Why? Because this is just my theory cap. I think that in the future of the story, the Exostrider is going to essentially get eaten up by Aleph One. Um, yeah, I think that that's going to end up with being the case. That
Uh,
thing is going to be eaten up by Aleph One, and so what she actually saw, once again, how void space works, she saw the future Exostrider. Um, that yeah, the same one that
mm-hmm.
she helped. That's what she saw. It's just that thing's future. It will eventually be eaten up. So there are not two Exostriders, and the other reason I think that is because of the fact why just send two? If you're sending like Exostriders to Soul 3, why only send two? Now you could say, oh, they sent one and it got eaten up, so they have to send another one. Sure, perhaps. Um, that isn't, like I said, that is an option. But truth be told, I don't think that that makes sense to Aleph One's character because Aleph One is not stupid.
Yeah.
First of all, like this thing is not stupid. It's just like a wolf looking at its prey. It didn't decide to just eat the Exostrider the second it saw it. It said,
Let me follow
"I'm
it.
gonna follow you.
Yep.
Let me follow you to your pack, like to your, like you see, like if a wolf sees like a bunny or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, it's not, don't, the smart move is don't eat the bunny immediately. Let the bunny lead you back to its group basically, and then devour. And that's what it did with the Exostrider. And so because of that, I don't see the Aleph One just seeing some Exostrider and destroying it just off rip. So that's the first thing. And then like I said, the second thing is if they were sending multiple, like one Sentinel per Extra Strider, that means there's probably multiple Extra Striders on Soul 3. But I've talked about this in my last video, actually. The last big lore video I did. It's like a picture of Aleph One on the thumbnail. Um, and I basically was explaining the exploration reports. We learned that they were trying to gatekeep information. They weren't trying to like let people know about the Roya or the Extra Strider because it was the Pioneer Association called the
Right.
Polar Collective. They didn't want people to know about this because they were afraid of what they would do if they found out about this crazy ancient technology. I mean, let's be honest, they were afraid because people are going to use it to make weapons. That's
Mm-hmm.
always the case. Um, and so they were trying to gatekeep that information. Eventually, it got out, but they figured out ways. Essentially, they figured out a way to get people to come on board by selectively getting information out, so forth and so on. Politics, which actually President Lucilla also kind of alluded to. So the point that I'm getting at is if they're going that crazy over one Exostrider, that tells me there's probably these things are out there. Like, oh yeah, there's a couple Exostriders all around Soul 3. Like, this is probably the only one.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, all those things being the case, I think that is justifiable enough reason to believe that the Exostrider that she found that's connected to Rover's frequencies, once again, is the same one that we're currently dealing with, and it's probably going to end up getting eaten up by the end of the story.
Adding on to that, because this also goes over one of the other topics I have listed here as well. So I too am of the opinion that like there's only one Exo Strider in this current case in time, at least from like one pure Exo Strider specifically. Another thing I have later will go on into more detail on like possibly more potentially what some people have been thinking. But in this case, like there's one main Exo Strider right now for Soul 3. Personally, though, I think given like the scale that we saw of it, like in the actual game and stuff, I don't think it could carry like multiple, at least not more than like maybe two Sentinels at a time, and that's mostly because the Mianlung chamber is big. Like, it's not small, the Mianlung chamber, and that's just the escape pod for Jue. So my thought is that possibly there's either one extra strider that did multiple trips, or like there was multiple extra striders at one point in time, but then the other ones got assigned to different planets or whatever, and then this one, when it was doing its jump and stuff, got caught by Aleph One.
Mm.
That's currently my take on it, though there is one exception that
I
do
need you to
have.
see the video. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
I really, the scale of this thing, you can't see people. Like if they're close up, like based on what we saw or what I saw, you could see Rover in front of the Myeonglung chamber, right?
Mm.
You can't see, you could not see Imeth anymore when they zoomed out.
Ah, gotcha.
And saying like
Yep.
how big that thing really was. I mean, it's, we'll see. Like I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm just
Right.
saying that's
Based
kind
on
of my
like,
take.
yeah.
I think it could be like gestation. It was big, like you know how technology works
Yeah.
or whatever. Where like maybe it was just like a contained thing, and then it
Got
landed.
bigger.
Because
Yeah.
this is my idea is just like it got here, fought Aleph One, did its job, shot out whatever pods it needed to, and then rested in the Frostlands, basically. Like that's kind of how I'm presuming it happened. Also, if you just remember, like for Hong Long, for example, right? Huang Long Sentinel was actually originally one Sentinel that just
Mm-hmm.
split into a bunch of
Different ones,
dragons
yeah.
or whatever they are. I guess because technically box, presumably, and so yeah. But you get where I'm coming from. So
Yeah,
like, it
yeah,
could
yeah.
also be the case of like really was like all the Sentinels for this planet, but somehow maybe they gave birth or who
Yeah,
knows.
or like just weird magical technology, space tech bullshit.
How about I do anyway? Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, that covers that point for the most part. Definitely looking forward to the video. Now the next thing I have here is I saw some discussions on like Twitter and stuff about the properties of Aleph One. So my take on this before I get into like what was being talked about is that the specific wording that was used in game is like a black hole, specifically like a black hole, not a black hole specifically. But this is just a little bit of trivia that I was looking into, and I saw people talking about like, hey, if Aleph One is like this big giant black hole, from conventional standards of like black holes and stuff, technically the laws of thermodynamics would basically mean that at its size or whatever, it would basically implode and not exist. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good point. Like a black hole, it doesn't have to necessarily be a black hole. Because I mean, obviously, there's not a whole lot of sentient black holes out there. Last I
Mm-hmm.
checked. So, I mean, this thing is a Threnodian supposedly. So it's more so just that it like has properties. I mean,
Yep.
that's almost like saying, I mean, you look at our resonators, right? And it's just like, oh yeah, well, technically, let me give an example. If we were to use the example of, and this is just super simple, I'm Iron Manning the heck out of this argument, but like use, I don't know, Encore or something, or
Yep. Fair enough.
like any fusion resonator, they can control heat,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and so and fusion technically with being an attribute and all that nonsense, not literal nonsense, but you get my point.
Yeah.
The point I'm saying is that they have control over these attributes. They are not, beholden to them. And so in the same vein, the Threnodian is just he can use, black hole powers.
Yep.
You,
Pretty
you know what I'm
much.
saying? Like, yeah, like boring answer, right? But like he can use
Yeah.
black hole powers,
Exactly.
but yeah, like he's not himself a black hole. But yeah, I
Yeah,
think that
he's his own
I mean that
thing.
checks out. That 100% checks out.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean he's definitely cool. I think what I would just say, or just regarding Alpha One in general, I was thinking this to myself. I was like, yo, this thing is way too big of an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Like the fact that they introduced it this soon in the story kind of shook me a little bit. I was like, no way, you guys are introducing like
Cosmic horror.
you're not beating this thing. Like you're genuinely not beating this thing. Like they had to seal it. I still
Mm-hmm.
don't even think. I don't think they're gonna beat it. Well, I should be done. They're not gonna beat it. Screw that. They're
Probably
not
not.
beating
Yeah.
it. If anything, they're pushing
Kicking it
it
out.
back into the
Yep.
Strider Gate.
Goodbye.
Yeah, but they're not beating this thing. Like that's not. But the craziest part about it is, if this enemy exists, that has to mean, just from a story perspective, there's something else out there that can beat it, or at the very least
Mm-hmm.
contend with it. Which means that Aleph One is really just a Pandora's box of sorts. To We're gonna get some crazy stuff
Oh yeah, for
in
sure.
the future of the game. So I'm excited.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Same. Now my next topic is just a little community joke thing. Just Rover never living down the Furlover allegations. Nothing too much to talk about with that. Just when I was just going through the patch myself, I was like, yeah, community isn't gonna let him live down this one. So yeah.
Yeah, Frolova mains, man. I mean, Frolova's a really cool character
For
for
sure.
sure. As a musician myself, I was already like kind of down for her. I like her design anyway. I like the twin tails and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think Frolova, even just from a game perspective, her idle animations were like some of the craziest idle animations I had seen. Like, obviously, we have some crazy ones now, but like Frolovas were such a step up. Like, cause like, yeah,
Definitely, yeah. At the
Car
time.
is cool. Carthias are cool. Chaconas are cool. These are some some nice looking anime. But then she literally has like this giant, hand from the beyond, and
Mm-hmm.
this whole. I need to watch that again. That was really nice. The whole dance performance. I was like, yo, okay, this was like, this felt like a step of like going from 1.0 to 2.0 in terms of like the quality.
Right.
That's how it felt going from like all prior uh idol animations to Frolova. I was just like, yo, this somebody likes her. Like somebody really likes her.
Yep.
But yeah, I hope we see her again. I have a feel. I'm sure we will. Not even I hope. I know we will.
Mm-hmm.
But gosh, the story community's about to go crazy. I can like I'm so
Yep.
happy that we're finally here. Like I'm so
Exactly.
oh
Same.
gosh. 2.0 was 2.0 was cool. It was enjoyable, but I think we can all agree it was missing something.
For sure.
And 3.0 is finally giving us what it was missing, in my opinion. And I'm excited, man.
Yeah, definitely. Now, back to the space station and stuff, and the
Ooh.
whole Xeric Sea and stuff. The white silver hair lady, um, is that Lucia potential? Well, not Lucia, but Lucia, quote unquote. Thank you. Um, but is it really Lucia as what a lot of people have been theorizing, or might it actually be Abraxas? That's a thought.
Dang, y'all really want Abby to be a waifu. Y'all want Abby to be a waifu so bad. Y'all want Abby to be a waifu so bad it makes you look stupid. I'm joking. But dang. Okay. So let me think. Have I made a video? I haven't actually, and do I plan to? I don't know. I'm pretty sure I will, but it's okay. What I will say is this. I don't think it's the space lady. I know some people think it's like, Lucia. Some people are calling her what's the name? What is the name? Ananke.
Oh yeah. Because it's based on
Yeah,
the
some people are
goddess. Yep.
calling her that. I don't necessarily personally. Obviously the Lucia thing is fun, so like I think that's fine. The Ananke thing, I'm not really convinced of it. No disrespect to the person who thought of the theory. Shout out to Sid Neymar, the homie.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Talked to him before as well, and even done a video with him. But yeah, I actually, truth be told, I talked to him about it, and he was just like, yeah, it's just a theory, I guess, and which it is, because nothing's
Yeah.
confirmed.
Exactly.
But I just call her the space lady or unknown
Mm-hmm.
goddess or whatever. But I just call her space lady because I think it's fun. I don't think that's her though. There was a second when I did. There was a
Mm.
second when I did. I don't think so now. Um, Not even close, actually. In reality, because I don't think that's how she got to Soul 3, and that's all I'll say.
Yep. Fair enough.
I believe I know how she got to Soul 3, or at least I have a different theory of how,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think that's her. Obviously the hair is different. And some people were saying, "Oh, well, she's in space, and there's a seemingly a black hole or something like that behind her, and so like that's making her hair look darker." But I don't. There's a couple, like I said, there's a couple reasons why I don't even
Yeah.
think that lines up. Not saying it couldn't, but there's a couple other things that kind of tell me, okay, that's not the case. I think that it is possible that that person. There's so much going on, honestly. I think it's possible that that person is okay. This is like a boom brain blast type deal, but I think, and I haven't once again, like you're getting all this stuff out of me.
Yeah.
Um, um, I think it's possible that that same person, and they could be different people, but could be Professor Wei Ying
Oh, possibly. That's an
in
interesting thought.
disguise specifically,
Yeah.
obviously, because otherwise they would probably everybody would be like, wait a second,
Mm-hmm.
weren't you just
Yep.
um but yeah, I think it's possible, and I guess if since we're on that topic, I think Professor Wei Ying, shout out to Sus Navora. If you don't think she's sus,
Yep.
you're
Sus.
missing the point. heavy. And I like Navora too, man.
Yeah,
I liked her
very
so
adorable,
much.
but
I was like, oh, fellow nerd, like she
mm-hmm.
gets it until she starts looking Luke up and down in a sus manner as soon as he talks
Yeah.
about the Coruscante and his pin. And I'm like, wait a second. And then she turns
And then the
off the
whole
thing
arms
because she
open. Yep. Like Cristoforo, some people have noted.
exactly. So this is my thing. I think Professor Wei Ying is likely a Fraxidus member. Specifically, now obviously I could be wrong,
Mm-hmm.
but I think she's a long living Fraxidus member. And as a result, she could also be the one who showed up with the Etheric Sea, or alongside the Etheric Sea. We don't know if it's with or alongside. Um, but the reason why is because there is if you all remember, for those who did 1.0, when we went to the Corsavante's lab, in the papers, there was a discussion about a Fraxidus member who was funding the court.
Yep. I do remember that actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so it could be the case that Wei Ying is that Fraxidus member, and Navora, probably being a part of the Fraxidus, decided to not let us see who that was because she knows
Yeah.
who that is. And why would you care about us seeing somebody from so long ago? What is the relevance?
Exactly.
Because that same person could still be around, and then you'd be able to connect some dots.
Mm-hmm.
That's my,
Fair enough.
mic drop.
That's
That's my
definitely an
thought.
interesting look into it. Definitely something I didn't consider personally. As for me, like why I'm thinking it's that Etheric Sea that was the person that was on in there with the white silver hair. The reason why like, I'm
Mhm.
thinking possibly Abby Abraxas is mostly just because
Yeah, yeah.
the whole in PGR, like Kuro loves to uh, take in stuff from like PGR and stuff and change it around.
Mhm.
So like obviously you had Lucia in PGR, and then you have the OG Lucia, which is Alpha, and Alpha does have silver hair and the header eyes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, I see, I
So
see.
that's basically where I'm coming from with that. That it could be potentially Abraxas, and of course the whole black hole symbolizing the lament and stuff, because obviously the Abraxas is tied to the Thermodians, as we've gotten thank courtesy of Leviathan. So yeah.
Yes, 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 indeed. No, yeah, I think not even just that either. Technically, we learned a lot about that too at 1.0 with the thing about it is like the game starts off with like people call her Yap Yap
Yep.
instead of Yang
Yang
Yang.
Yang. Yep.
Which I still have hope. I feel like Yang Yang is going to be more important as the time goes on. We just don't know it yet.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I mean, that's even a thing, right? Where people think that Yang Yang is, and I could actually see that. Like if Yang Yang is somehow connected to the Lucia or whatever, or
Yeah.
Lucille. It seems like you say her name differently than I thought it was pronounced, but
Lucia,
um,
Lucia. Yeah.
Lucia. Oh, okay. Is that like how
That's the
the
more
Japanese say
traditional
it or something?
Greek. Well, their name is originally
Oh.
Greek, and obviously Japanese. They would do the key because they don't have a C really.
Mm. Okay, got you. But yeah, no, like it could be a thing where like Abby is that person potentially,
Mm-hmm.
and then Yang Yang could be connected to Space Lady, and
Yep.
that could essentially be your Alpha and Lucilla
Yeah,
reference,
yeah, yeah.
Lucia
Fair enough.
reference, and yeah, that could definitely be it. It's something I'll definitely keep in mind. Maybe for a future
Mm-hmm.
video or something like that. Once we get more information to try to connect some dots with that. But no, yeah, I definitely see it. I mean, I think everybody noticed the heterochromia thing with Alpha and just
Yeah.
like, all right, wait now, what are y'all doing? Um, but yeah, I think that's kind of where I am. But I think that yeah, that is very interesting, and that's the fun thing to me about lore.
Mm-hmm.
It's like in theorizing, like it's not a matter of like whether you're right or wrong, because like a lot of times people will be like, oh my gosh, like
Yeah,
life,
it's
how
more
do
the
you get
process. Yeah.
yeah, it's like, can you make a convincing argument,
Mm-hmm.
that that's the fun. It's not whether I'm right or wrong. At the end of the day, it's can you make it a convincing argument? And like I said, to me, that's the fun of theorizing.
Yep, definitely. So now the next thing, we'll skip over Divorce Us because we kind of went over that already. The whole ring and stuff, the ring theming, definitely like, um, we didn't go. I didn't see you go too much into like that whole ring symbology. I mean, there's not much that we know about it currently. I just joked here
Which
on the
ring?
thing. The whole like tri ring that you see with like Shorekeeper with the Sentinels, the Exo Strider.
Oh,
Yeah.
somebody hasn't seen my everything is connected video then.
Uh, I watch it, but maybe I didn't get that in. Maybe I should go about that. Relook
No,
at
yeah,
that.
but say like respectfully, I don't want you to take this the wrong
No,
way.
no, no, it's good.
That's literally the entire video. The
Hmm.
whole video is about the rings. Because it starts and it literally like if you look at the first like 15 seconds of the video, it's showing like all the rings. It's like Shorekeeper's animation,
Hmm.
the Imperator's hub, the so and so, all the, and but yeah, I go in more detail in that video. So like I said, everybody, it's actually my best performing video on my entire channel, um, which I am very grateful for, and hopefully one day I'll be able to beat that, and
Hopefully.
hopefully soon. Um, but yeah, it's like it's so weird how it worked too, because like I originally put it out and it was like 2,000 views or something the first day, which was still good. That's like really, I was like, oh shoot, 2,000 views in a day, that's huge. Um, but then as time progressed, it didn't really like the day after, it didn't really get many views. It maybe got like a couple hundred. And obviously subjectively, because you know, a lot of views versus little views is different for
Right.
everybody. Um, but it was just like it was a bit less, and I was like, oh okay, well you know maybe that's just what it was. And then like 2 or 3 days later, it just kept getting views
Exploded.
slowly,
Yeah.
slowly, and now it's at like 63K,
Yeah.
almost 64K, and it's just like because I've had videos that did like really crazy numbers on the first day.
Hmm.
Most views I ever got in the first one day was like 8K, but then that same video had like a huge halt, and it basically like locked out at like 10K, and so it was just like, you know, YouTube, I guess YouTube
Yeah, that
doing YouTube
happens.
things, but yeah, it was like yeah, so it's I definitely would encourage anybody if they're
Hmm.
interested in those rings more depth, but I mean basically like it's the Hess civilization.
Yep.
That's my thing is like it's connected to the Hess civilization, and the fact that it was inside the Extra Strider is just even more proof of that reality. And so yeah, I'm kind of fully convinced and I'm on board for that bit.
Fair enough. On that topic, actually, you going over that made me try to think back what I could remember from, I think, either that video or specifically or another video, and it does make me think and connect the dots specifically to like the whole 000 or Ein Sof Or from like biblical stuff. More specifically, like my familiarity with it comes
Slow
from
down and say
Granblue.
that one more time.
Ein Sof Or.
Okay, I don't know what that is, or it sounds
Um,
familiar, but maybe if I
It's
saw it in like
basically related to like Lucifer or Halal Ben Sahar, basically the Dawn and stuff. But Grand Blue is another game that does take a little bit from that with Sandalphon, the character, and
yeah, I know
there's
like
like a whole
Al
symboling like
Gold from
yeah, yeah. Basically, like there's the whole three rings, and I've been thinking potentially now thinking on that like line of thought could potentially
mhm.
represent the 000 of Ein Sof, which is like life, death, and I think the present or the afterlife. I'm not entirely certain. It's been a minute since I looked
You
into like
might
that.
just have given me an idea for a video then, because this is actually. I know Ainz Al Gone from the anime Overlord,
Yeah.
which is probably yeah. I'm gonna need you to send me a message for that because that is very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I've seen some interesting, interesting. My mind's kind of going crazy now, actually.
Yeah, it definitely adds on specifically when you were going into like your video with the golems and Aleph, Bet, Tut. I don't know if you mentioned Malkut or something like that onto it, but yeah,
No, I
definitely.
don't think. No, I didn't mention that, but yeah, no, that that actually you kind of gave me a little bit of a brain blast moment because I just connected like a bunch of dots, and oh man, Eesh. Okay,
Yep.
yeah, that's interesting. We'll talk. We'll have to
Yeah,
talk a
yeah,
little
yeah.
more in depth about that
Sure, sure.
later because that's actually really interesting. Okay.
Next topic is sigilum ore farming. Do you think there's more to that? Specifically, like the whole
Yes,
planet.
I legit. So when I was on stream, I was like, "Yo, did Rover blow up the moon in the past? Was it him? Did he do it?" No, legit. I was like, "This seems way too intentional. Like,
Mm-hmm.
this is not like if 2.8 taught us anything, it's that they're not just doing stuff just to do stuff. We have. I want to say like we've gone past that because that would kind of make it seem like, oh, that's where we were. Because even the stuff in the past still had a purpose. But I
Mm-hmm.
think people should be convinced at this point that there is a reason behind this stuff. And yeah, no, I think yeah, there might be something to that.
Yep.
Uh, I can't say I know right now, to be
Right,
honest.
right.
I genuinely,
Neither of us,
I
but.
yeah, because there's some things we just aren't gonna know. Like
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like we can billion different dots or whatever, and then bam.
Yeah.
But there are obviously gonna be things like going for update to me.
Pardon? You broke off a little bit. Can you repeat that?
Oh, I said, do you want to know what I'm waiting for? An update to Dreaming Deep.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. That definitely would be interesting.
That would be, oh my gosh, that'll be so much work though. I do not like that game mode. I genuinely don't. I know there are people who do like it. I'm just not a fan. But I played through it so I could get the lore
Right.
out of it. But I really hope that game mode if they do if they do an update to Dreaming Deep. I hope that they somehow figure out a way to make the game mode
Yeah.
more enjoyable or something. Like I would have preferred playing like Peaks of Prestige or something. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. Like just yeah, the way it was just set up was it could have been better. But yeah, hopefully like I said at some point we do get an update to that cuz I think that'll also help. But yeah, that it looked cool.
Oh
That's all I
yeah,
can say right
definitely.
now. It looked cool.
Yep.
Do you have thoughts
Um,
on it?
my thoughts on that specifically was pretty much similar to yours. I do think there's more to it, definitely, than just there to look cool. As for Dreaming Deep, I also don't really like it myself, but I did go through it. Personally, like I'd say if the presentation was managed a little bit better, it probably would be a little bit more palatable to most people, for the most
I
part.
don't think it was a presentation for me though. At least like for me, it was not. I liked the presentation. It was the gameplay aspect of it. That's what I didn't like. Like I'm okay with just this is me personally, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I was okay with everything. I liked the little game board thing. I thought that was cool. I liked the like cinema thing, like reading or whatever. Because obviously you're gonna have to read at some point.
Right,
Like
yeah.
you're not gonna avoid that. So I thought it was presented cool. It was just the actual gamification of it going across the board. The board looked cool, but the navigation of the board and
Mm-hmm.
the actual like fighting, which was not fighting at all. It was literally just wasting time because
Right.
you would go into a fight, you would absolutely obliterate whatever thing. It was like literally like it was no point even really
Fair enough,
fighting.
yeah.
And yeah, and so it was just like it really just felt like you were just. I would have preferred it to just be a full blown visual novel
For
with like
sure.
no fighting.
Probably, I would agree.
Yeah, because like at least we would have gotten to the point quicker.
Mm-hmm.
So but yeah, that's like I said, that was just I thought the presentation part was fine though, personally. Um, but yeah.
Yep. Okay. So the next topic. In here I put mostly aim at her similarities to like Menominee. There's more to it than just visual. I don't know. I know you did a little bit of PGR back in the day before WUA, but again, it's only dabbled. But like you know how like Nanami's all upbeat and stuff. Pretty
I
much,
love her so much.
yeah, she's one of my favorites. So yeah,
She's
Amith
oh my
does
gosh.
share like quite a bit of similarities, but I also like to
Mm.
add on that like her pessimism that makes her different than Nanami in this sense is mostly coming from like Shoals, which is another character in like Nanami's, well, formerly Nanami's group, um, where Shoals is the emperor, and he was basically an AI that was created to basically like simulate the future and do like advanced calculations and stuff,
Like the
and
Tetris system.
sort of, yeah, sort of like the Tetris system basically. And it was like the precursor to Gestalt in PGR, and
Isn't it?
basically,
Wait,
yeah, yeah,
isn't that the robot that you fight like very early?
yeah. No. However, I don't know if you care too much. Minor spoilers, but Shoals is related to Nozzle's awakening. Like it was
I
because
don't
of
know who Nozzle
Shoals.
is.
That's the robot you fight in chapter one, the painter
Oh, okay.
robot.
That thing's name was Nozzle. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, Nozzle. Its name was
Now,
Nozzle.
just for clarity, you know I'm talking about the one with the overcoat, right?
The overcoat.
It's like a
Um.
big hulking robot, and he has an overcoat, and then he takes
Uh.
it off.
Are you talking about Tifa, the like the Iron Maiden, where it
No,
has
it's
like a. Hmm.
no, it's a giant robot. It has like an overcoat and like maybe a hat or
Oh
whatever,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it
Gabriel,
came with
Gabriel.
Luna.
Yeah, Gabriel.
Gabriel. That see, I heard the G, and I was like Gestalt Gabriel. Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
what I was asking about. I was like, is that like Gabriel? But okay, Gestalt
No,
is
no,
something
yeah,
different.
something
Okay,
different.
wait, isn't Gestalt like? Isn't that an AI too though?
Yeah, yeah.
I think I'm
Gestalt
starting to remember
is
now.
the AI for Babylonia. Um,
Yeah. Okay. There we go. I'm clocking you.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's the precursor. The thing you just mentioned
Yeah,
is a
Shoals.
precursor to Gestalt. Show. Okay.
Yeah, and basically, he effectively in his calculations did something similar to like what we see with like Nanami's chapters in like chapters 17 and so forth, where he simulated the future, and in that future and stuff, he took on the identity of like multiple people and go and went through a bunch of like despaired lives full of like despair and stuff, all the way up until like the end of the universe where it like had its like heat death or something. And there was some
Entropy.
pretty dark stuff in that chapter. It was in Chu's chapter, the newest S rank for Chu, is where like Shoals' backstory goes into.
Oh, okay.
He's also known by his other identity, Emperor, which is what you'd see more commonly in like boss fights and stuff. The Emperor, which he served as the turret for the Emperor, but basically that journey of Shoals made him very pessimistic and like, oh, screw humans, machines only, basically sort of thing.
Oh,
So
okay.
like I sort of like see where like there's just a little dabble of that inside of Amith rather, where she has that slight pessimism from like Shoals
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah. Some people have speculated that it's really sad to think about.
Mm-hmm.
But some people speculated that Aleph One is deceiving Imeth.
That's a definitely interesting speculation, and I personally wouldn't put it down because considering they do have their own identity and stuff, and that's a Therodian
Yeah,
for you.
like it could have shown her things like not so much. How do I put it? It could have been the case that it I'm not so much saying that it tampered with anything, but just that it intentionally
Suggested.
showed her certain
Yeah,
things. So it's just like if you're only getting a part of the truth instead of the whole truth, it's not necessarily a lie. It's just not full
exactly.
context. But
That's yeah,
we'll
that's a
see.
thought. So the next topic, we got. So here, I mean, we're mostly going off of like the assumption that Rover civilization is the Huss civilization.
Mhm.
Though, like I'm putting here, like, is it possible that it could be a different civilization entirely? because I don't remember too much of like the specific details. I do gotta go back and read the things, but presumably, from what we know about the Hess civilization, is that the Court of Savantai was already aware of them. Meanwhile, Rover's civilization, from my understanding of it, is not something that the Court of Savantai was aware of. I don't know. What's
Wait,
your take on
say it
that?
again now?
So like from what I vaguely remember about like the stuff in 1.0 in the Court of Savantai
Mhm.
area, it like the documents basically mention like, hey, this is what we know about the Hess civilization, and that's how we know their name as the Hess civilization. But my take on this is it's possible that the Hess civilization might be completely different from Rover's civilization because
Okay.
there really isn't much information known in Solaris about Rover's civilization. It's typically like they're an unknown for the most part. So I'm
I mean, but
thinking,
that's it's possible, but I think you also have to consider the fact that not much is known about Rover.
true.
So it's just like you could know about, like, I'm from New York, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, you can know about me and you can know about New York. That I'm from New York, you're not going to be able to link anything.
Fair enough. I'd say,
So,
yeah, that probably contextualizes it a bit better.
like, obviously it could be something else, but I think right now it's kind of like in the air.
Right.
So, even if it is Rover's civilization, um, we just yeah, we're not getting given enough. Which kind of I'd like to maybe just kind of present this. My thoughts are that in 3.x, we're probably going to get, like, we've gotten so much already, which is a shock to me, to be honest with you. I was not expecting us to get this much information so soon. I could see a world where we end up getting, what is it? We end up getting information because in the next patch or the next part of the patch, we're getting information
Mm-hmm.
about the Fraxidus.
Yeah, Luke
So we've
and
gotten information about Rover. We're getting information like Rover's past. We're going to be getting some information about the Fraxidus. I wager by the time 3.x is over, we're going to be set. We're going to have all the information that we need to, as Imad said, go forward. Like, go on our mission, essentially. Because, like, she asks Rover, she's like, so what are you going to do after this? Rover doesn't know.
yep.
Rover was like, I mean, I guess y'all got to take care of the Thernodian. She's like, yeah, but, like, what after that? Like, it was basically like them reminding us that Rover doesn't actually have their mission yet.
Mm-hmm.
Not like specifically, broadly speaking, sure, but there's not like a specific direction yet. And I think part of that is because we don't know enough about Rover's situation yet. And so I think we're getting some background information about Rover. We're gonna get the Fraxidus because essentially we need to contextualize everything before we can go forward.
Fair enough.
Um, and so I think that we might end up getting some more information about Abby and possibly, quite possibly, actually, the Space Lady. I think we have those elements. I think we'll be good. If we have that stuff, we will be good to go wherever the story needs to go. So yeah, those are my thoughts on like where we might end up going before 2.x is over.
Yep, fair enough. I'd say that's a good point for contextualizing that. Next, just a quick review of like music and stuff. Personally, I also have some history with music myself. I definitely do like a lot of the stuff that we've gotten, especially like both of the more interstellar like tracks that we've heard. Specifically Nihility and Causality, which recently released, as well as the one from last patch when we were doing the cassettes, which is Your Way Here or something like that. I don't know if Nihility and Causality was done by Jingyan, but definitely Your Way Here was Jingyan, which is one of the Kuro composers.
Now I need you to remind me. When was Your Way Here? When did that play?
When we were getting our cassette information, uploading our data, when we first saw Mornier. The dun
Yeah, yeah.
dun dun dun. Yeah,
Yep. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, yeah. Oh gosh, that was good. That was that was good. It hit me, man. Like I was
yeah.
like, oh, yeah, 100%. That one they cooked with that. They cooked with that. And so you said nihility and causality.
Yeah, that's the more recent one with the Amyth capsule when we were going to check on Amyth in the capsule after the main events of like 3.1. That would be nihility and causality. At least that's what I've been seeing from like people
Is
posting.
that
Is
the song with words in it?
I don't know if I don't think it has words, but it's similar to like that other one Your Way Here with the similar like boops and
Is that the
stuff.
one that had the Morse code in it that people found?
I think so actually, yes.
Because
But
if that's the same one, yeah, I like that one too, quite a lot. Honestly, just I'm gonna date myself real quick. As an OG Wuthering Waves player from day one, y'all thought I was gonna do something different. Um, as an OG player from Wuthering Waves, day one, the beta and all that. Like the beginning of the game, I like the sci-fi. I mean the lo-fi type of tracks that we got, but I 100% acknowledge that it was not the most melodic in nature, right?
for sure, yep.
And so what we ended up getting in this most recent not even just recent, just like basically 2.0. It should be told 1.1 was solid too. Like things got better progressively, but 2.0 like just like
Knocked
took it
it
to a
out of
whole
the
other
park.
level. And then 3.0, especially with the introduction of the bike. Oh my gosh, the tracks have been phenomenal. Like they've
Hmm.
genuinely been so good. I was actually even I'm gonna be honest, 2.8. Okay, let me just say something about 2.8, all right?
Oh yeah, the music
2.
there, yep. Or
No,
no.
seriously. Like I've been so in my most recent video, right? I was just listening to 2.8 the whole time when I was writing that script.
Yeah.
The whole OST, I found a playlist that had like 30 tracks on it or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I just had that thing playing on repeat. And Ima's tracks sound like video game music a bit.
Oh yeah.
Um kind of like a fighting game, especially like her intro.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think it's the same track that plays when you get her convene animation too. It's so good. And there's the near automata sounding tracks that play as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's so good, and Kuro has legitimately like this is where the meme comes from, where it's just like, yeah, Kuro is just a music company parading as a game company at this point, because no shot you can create this high quality or create slash what is it, because like some of it's created, some of it is commissioned, but I'm just saying, like, to bring all that
Yeah,
together.
yeah, yeah.
Even like I said, when we got the bike and I was listening to some of the remixes they did,
Oh yeah, yeah.
like
The
I was
more
just like,
recent,
man,
yeah, the release with
yeah,
like
they
the
they, they
remix
killed
album.
it. They absolutely killed it. And I'm just so happy that we're here now, because the beginning is just like, bro, your name is Wuthering Waves. You
Exactly.
can't be dropping the ball like this, man.
Yeah. As an OG player myself, I do remember like not feeling it too much with the original Huanglong OST.
Mm.
Like it filled the space nicely, but like it
It was
wasn't.
serviceable.
Yeah, exactly. But it wasn't really like anything super stand out, especially when you go into like the beta stuff that we saw, like when they had Vanguard sound on for like the original
Hmm.
theme with Flow from Halo Week. Like that stuff's still living in my. It's actually in my playlist that
Yep.
I run because I just liked it so much. But definitely, it's great to see
It
like
was
how
good.
much they've evolved in their own for their own sense. Um, and definitely I'd say part of that helped with from having like Vanguard like um to mentor like Kuro's people with trying
Yep.
to get them into like stuff, cuz even though like Vanguard stopped their involvement like around the beta and stuff, they were still mostly like a supervisory role for like the early patches and stuff,
Yep.
helping Kuro's producers like produce stuff. So definitely it's great to see like how they've evolved and come into their own, especially with 2.0 and 3.0.
No, yeah, like I still listen to every time Breaking Dawn
Mm-hmm.
plays, I just put stuff down and I'm just like, okay, I guess we're listening to Breaking Dawn right now. Um and yeah, I mean like even the soundtrack that played at the end of 3.1, not the very end, but the part where, Imeth is basically doing her thing. And I'm just like, yo, these tracks are so good. Okay, I gotta be honest, okay? I didn't think Wildfire was that good.
Fair enough. Yeah. Fair.
Like, it was okay. And I talked to some people and they were like, oh yeah, like it was just in the moment, people really liked it. And like, I mean, I get it, I guess like the novelty of like, oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
big soundtrack playing when big moment happens.
Right.
But like I listened back to it and I was just like, I don't see it. I mean, if y'all like it, I'm so happy for you all. But yeah, Wildfire, and for those who don't know, Wildfire is from Honkai Star Rail. Their introduction patch, kind of like the big moment from the first patch, had that song, and it wasn't a bad song, but it just wasn't like something that I thought I enjoyed as much. Which is actually interesting because I think we could probably agree. Throttle Up is like a similar style of
Oh yeah,
song.
for sure, for sure.
I
Um,
love Throttle Up though.
I'd
Absolutely love Throttle Up.
mhm. I'd say on that, even though like it's like similar style, the more specific like intuitive in depth is like it's Throttle Up is like more like neoclassical, and like Jixwang and Laco primarily like took their inspiration, specifically Jixwang, took the inspiration from Sawano. If you know, like familiar with Attack on Titan, Guilty Crown, those soundtracks
Ooh.
is like Sawano stuff where it's like a whole neoclassical, but with like more
Yeah,
rock
it sounds like
elements.
music from like the 80s, like 70s,
Mm-hmm.
80s type American
Right.
music. And that's kind of how it sounded. Yeah.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Wildfire is more like traditional, like progressive rock, borderline like metal-ish. So I definitely I
Mm.
could see like that taste difference. Especially like
Yeah, I mean,
leaning more
maybe.
towards like the neoclassical. That's like
Yeah,
more
I'm,
where
I'm
I
a big
lean.
fan of classical music anyway, to be fair.
Mm-hmm.
The oldies, and clearly goodies. Yeah, I grew up like listening to like jazz and classical music. Like literally as a baby, my mom would have classical music playing while I was a baby, and I'm gonna do the same thing with my kid. It was just like have classical music playing. I actually hear it's really good for children's brain development, even while like the
Yeah.
mom
Yep.
is still pregnant.
Yeah, I've
Like
heard
having
that
that
too.
music play. Yep. Yeah. From there, here we are. But obviously, it's not like I don't enjoy like more modern music because I definitely do. But yeah, that was just my take on it.
Yeah, I also like a lot of classical. Grew up similarly on a lot of classical, as well as like pop as well and rock, 80s rock particularly, and so forth, and metal. So I'm
Mm,
very varied like with the type of music I like. Um, though I do definitely lean a lot more to like the neoclassical orchestral bombasticness of like Sawano especially, and that's partially
mm,
why like that style is so like poignant, is because of like how bombastic Sawano does it with like the brass specifically, the brass notes and so forth, as well as the synth
mm,
that he uses. And pretty much that was more or less the idea with Jishwang doing Throttle Up, and of course they hired on Nako, who does have performing history with Sawano. Like Sawano has
okay.
worked with a lot of different musicians and vocalists. So like Lako, or like as we've seen in this patch with 3.1, Vernal Days, which is the ending song, was done by Miko Kobayashi, which is another classically Sawano sort of singer. She got
Mm,
very much known for like working with Sawano on some music for like Attack on Titan and Guilty Crown.
dope.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean they definitely have a swath of options and inspiration to work with, and they're definitely
hmm
uh stewarding it well.
for sure. Now the next topic is. Mm, so I put a little thing here for like Amit's ghost nature. My specific thoughts on it is I was just recontextualizing and trying to reconsider like potentially what we know about it already. So I was
Mhm.
thinking possibly as a thought experiment, what if it's not as a result of her resonating with the Exostrider, but rather, um, possibly from the missing Sentinel.
I'd like you to explain that in a little bit more depth, please.
So people were thinking that there's some missing sentinel related to Lahai Roy that's somewhere around the place, possibly inside Aleph One. So like this thought process as I was having it was basically like, hey, maybe just maybe instead of like Imeth resonating, well, her ghost nature being from resonating with the Exostrider, maybe it's possible that she somehow got linked to whatever Sentinel is missing for Lahai Roy, potentially.
That's actually really interesting. Um, I think the only issue I have with that, it's not like a huge issue. I'm pretty sure it can be
Right.
explained, but the only issue I would say is like she clearly has a connection to the Strider, Exo Strider. So what that would have to mean is that the Sentinel is connected to the Exo Strider in that way as well,
Mm-hmm.
because, I mean, or it's like really convoluted, and because we know her ability is like, if I'm remembering correctly, because she had her original Forte ability,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it has something to do with like being able to control machines or something like that.
Right.
Um, so it could be the case that, yeah, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
maybe that's kind of her when she resonated with,
Mm-hmm.
the thing or whatever, the Sentinel, that those abilities got increased,
Yep.
and essentially like a digital Sentinel. Is what it sounds like. There's a
Basically.
digital Sentinel. Yeah, that's interesting. That's a really interesting line of logic. And then the via digital
Mm-hmm.
Sentinel is how she's able to control the Exostrider, or at least placeholder sync
Right.
with it. I mean, she calls it the true,
Might I?
true resonator or
Yeah.
whatever. But go for it, yeah.
Might I also add to that like line of thoughts is that what we know about the Exostriders is very like basic, like they're effectively like the UPS or FedEx for Sentinels and stuff.
Correct.
Whereas with the Sentinels, what we do know about Sentinels is they do have specific abilities, such as
Hmm.
like Imperator with the ability to being the split concepts. So that's sort of like where this line of
Yes.
reasoning kind of stems from is that maybe the Exostrider itself doesn't have any specific ability to and emphasize like her ability to make like a digital ghost, but maybe that is instead coming from the Sentinel that's missing for Lahai Roy.
You know what? I think that's I like that a lot actually. Yeah, I like that. That checks out. Cuz yeah, I mean it definitely is a good question of like, where are these abilities coming from?
Mm-hmm.
Once again, obviously they could just be her abilities. um and I will say this, the Exo Strider is very much, I mean, they presume it predates or some sort of like precursor technology to Sentinels. Um, so like maybe, but in reality, that would still be a jump. Like, who's to say that a delivery person has the same properties of the package it delivers?
Right.
That's kind of a jump in and of itself. So there's no reason why the Exo Strider has the same capabilities as a Sentinel. Um, unless this is just like hallmark of all has civilization technology.
Right. That could also be a
Uh,
thing. Yeah.
yeah, because technically Shorekeeper had the resonated with Rover. We learned that in her character story because originally her original form was just a rock. It was a
Yeah.
crystal.
Gem. Yep.
And then yeah, and so when she resonated with Rover, that's when she got the form that she did. So, once again, like technically people resonate with things all the time. Like they resonate with weapons, the tacitite, I guess, in the weapon, what have you. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting thought, though. I think there's room for it for certain. There's a lot of room for a lot of things right now, honestly.
Yep.
Give me one moment.
Sure.
I just need to get something over here real quick.
Yep.
There we go.
Okay. So that goes over that. Now back on to the idea of like the whole multiple sentinels and stuff. Like one thing I was reading about possibly people theorizing is potentially the crownless statue that we see could be a corrupted Strider that Overthrax corrupted. What are your thoughts on that? Bit of a leap, probably.
um so what so you're saying that the big thing
Yeah, the
that
big
we
crownless
see,
statue. Yeah, in Norfall Barrens.
I'm pretty sure that's just Overthrax's body. Like I'm pretty sure they describe it as like the husk of Overthrax essentially, because if you look in the
Mhm.
2D animation, Overthrax is just a giant crownless.
Right.
Like yeah, like if you were to go back and see, when they talked about over he did where he like made the
Mm-hmm.
weapons resonate and turn people in the Tats of Discourse and all that. Like in the background, his head looks just like Crownless, and yeah, like Overthrax, Crownless is just a mini version of him basically.
Pretty much, yeah. Same with
Which
Jarvis.
it would be really cool to see a giant Crownless, like that would be scary but cool. Um, but yeah. So I'm probably gonna have to go in the direction of probably not. That sounds really cool though. It
For
genuinely
sure.
sounds cool. There was ever like something like that in the future, like a corrupted extra strider sounds scary as all get out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't want to mess with that. Gosh, yeah, like there's a lot of potential, man.
Yep.
There's so much potential.
Okay, and now the second to last thing I have, which I recently got from like your recent interview with like Amanda, which specifically
Mm,
about like the her civilization seeding planets and stuff. My basically thoughts on
yeah.
that is, could it be possibly for nefarious reasons?
I thought about that one time, and I gotta give a credit to where credit is due. I got this idea from the Wuwa theorist. I think that's his name on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
His name's Tin, Tin. But I've credited him before. Actually, I credited him in the how everything's connected, how she connects everything video. But basically, I thought about it. I was like, this was like super, super dismal in terms of thought process. I was like, yo, what if they are like doing this to keep Aleph One off their trail? Like they're essentially
Mm-hmm.
feeding Aleph One civilizations to like they're creating civilizations, seeding them just to attract Aleph One away from them. I don't really think that's the case, mind you.
Right.
Mm.
But it's an interesting thing to
That
think
in
of. Yeah.
particular. Yeah. But in terms of like just another particularly nefarious reason, I I think it's possible. We do not have anywhere near enough information about them, but I think they're just. I honestly think they're just like experiments. Like these planets are basically like petri dishes to them, where they're just like looking and observing, like I think that they're intentionally like essentially experimenting on civilization, which is okay. I was going to kind of talk about this in my video actually. Once again, obviously, this is just one small part of it, but basically, the Tethys system operates very similarly to them. Like the Tethys
Yeah.
system was experimenting on these, AI
Hmm.
civilizations, essentially these
Yeah, like that
digital
side quest
civilizations and
in
such.
Black Shores. Remember where we turned it off?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And it's like, oh wait, did I just kill a bunch of people? And the people in the computer were like, no, don't do it, don't do it.
Yep.
Like we're here, we exist, and we just,
Boop.
and it's just like, I don't know how to feel about this. And then there's an NPC in Lahiroi who also, so there's this NPC right before it's when you're walking into the academy.
Hmm.
If you're just walking from the very front, and I mean, technically, the easiest way to describe this is from a point of interest.
Right.
And that place would be Nana's
Right.
nursing
Nursery.
spot or
Nursery.
whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, I say nursery, but it's like yeah, it's like
Yeah.
yeah, the nursing area,
The
the
infirmary.
clinic, infirmary. There we go, adult words. That's what I like to hear. So yeah, the infirmary to the right. So you're looking at the infirmary to the right of the infirmary. I believe he has purple hair. He's on the debate club or something like that, or mock trial. And one of the topics for debate is if is a simulation, does it still have meaning?
Hmm.
And it just like there's a couple different things in the game that kind of make you wonder, like, wait a second, what's going on? Like, is this a
Yep.
simulation? Is does Rover exist in a simulation? Like, what if Rovers and even Imyth kind of referenced Imyth Rover as a cat,
Oh, yep. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The whole,
right?
yeah, say the box cat. Yep.
And Rover, I think references I mean not Rover, Scar references Rover, I think, as a cat as well, potentially, or something like that.
Sheep, I believe, is
Um
what he used. Yeah.
well, no, that's the thing. He references everyone as a sheep, but not Rover.
Oh, yeah.
He
Oh, yeah.
references that's actually the important part. He references people as sheep, but not Rover. Rover's different. And it almost makes you wonder, like, wait, is Rover like Rover's not considered one of them, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Now you could just chalk that up to like, oh yeah, he's an alien. That's why. Um, but it could also be the case, like, what if Rover is actually like in a simulation? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
what if
that's.
that's what's actually happening? And Rover's like, oh, I want to go home. Like, basically like,
Hmm.
I want to wake up. Can you take me out of the Matrix,
Yeah,
please?
pretty much.
And they're like, no.
No.
um be our digital avatar, our Sword Art Online, and get that data for us, type deal. So it could be like, yeah, like Solaris, Soul 3, whatever, all this stuff. It could be a simulation
Hmm.
and they're just running experiments on the simulation. Yeah, there's definitely room for some nefarious work, and I know there's a lot of people who there's so many people who want Rover to like lose or like have like a big L. And I'm just like, man, like, this is what I'll say about that part. And I'll make this quick. It would not make any sense for Rover to take an L right now, in my opinion.
Right.
Um, because it wouldn't hit as hard. And I mean by that is Rover's situation with Imyth only mattered because Rover had context.
For sure.
Like, people just wanting Rover to take an L just for the sake of taking an L. It's like, oh yeah, he needs to, for all the decisions that he made and blah blah blah, for Lova, all this. And I'm just like, but if he doesn't remember, you're just punishing an amnesiac.
Hmm.
Like, you're not gonna, like, first of all, Amanda, I spoke to Amanda after the finale. Amanda Rishel, Carthy's voice actor, and I know but I'm just saying for anybody who doesn't.
Right.
Carthia, the Sentinel Resonator from 2.x, spoke with her, and one of the things that she actually said in our discussion, I thought was really cool. She was saying that, so you remember that moment where Cristoforo in 2.7 kind of looked disgusted? It was like not a normal expression. Like, Cristoforo is usually very composed, but there were like these very small moments in the finale,
Yeah, he was a
toward like
little
that part where
unnerved.
Rover and him were
Yep.
talking. Yeah, and the look on his face was almost to me. It looked kind of almost like perverted. Like it was just like it. In the I guess more the classical definition of the word, it
Mm-hmm.
was just like a first look, just like a. It looked creepy to me. Like it was not his
Yeah.
normal face. It was twisted in a way. And one of the things that Amanda was saying was like, what if Christopher doesn't like Rover, like a lot, like really doesn't like Rover, and specifically though, maybe Rover did something in the past, and Christopher kind of wants to get back at Rover potentially, but they are playing it cool right now because Rover doesn't have their memories, and it would not be satisfying to punish someone who doesn't even know why you're punishing them. And so Christopher is waiting for Rover to eventually get their memories back because Christopher was kind of prodding Rover a little bit
Mm-hmm.
to see if Rover remembered things. Frolova did the same thing actually. If you
Right.
were to
Yeah.
watch
Yeah.
2.5 back,
2.5.
like there were certain
Big
things where she
cousin.
would say to see if Rover like remembered. And so it could be the case that for I mean Cristoforo is doing kind of a similar thing where like he's trying to get Rover to remember and he's trying to quote unquote like guide Rover in a way to remembering things. So that way, once Rover eventually does remember, he can actually exact his revenge on someone who's actually, has context
Right.
and
Right.
can be accountable for what they did. And so
Mm-hmm.
the point that I'm getting at is people want Rover to take an L, but we don't. Rover doesn't know enough and have enough context about themselves
To
to
really let it hit. Yeah.
for it to hit. Yeah, so it's just like you're just punching an amnesiac. Like they're just like, oh, what did I do? You know what you did? No, I don't. Like it's not it doesn't it's not as satisfying. And as I said, like Imith, it was only satisfying because Rover understood, but she had to explain to Rover. But after that, then Rover understood and then it was able to hit. So yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely something to going with that, especially considering like what we've heard. I don't know if it was like Christopher or the Grand Architect Schwarzkopf that said it, but like there was like that whole line like you were once one of us or something like that, where one of them
We were
says it.
once your waystones.
Yeah, yeah, we were once your waystones. So there's definitely something more to that, like with Rover's history and the Firaxidus specifically. Um, Also, if you consider like the whole looping thing with Camellia as well, like that alternate mindscape simulation thingy where she was once up the Fraxis and so forth. So yeah, that's definitely something to think on for the most part. And now
Yeah.
we get to the last topic that I've had listed for this discussion is the collab Cyberpunk. When do you think that might be? 3.8
Yeah.
rest patch anniversary. What's your thoughts?
Ah, gosh. Honestly, like I have no idea. But I would say anniversary would make the most sense. Anniversary would make the most sense. I think it definitely depends. It would kind of work out too. Or if it's not the anniversary, it's the anniversary and then the cyberpunk
Possibly, yeah.
collab. Because in some ways you could maybe argue like, okay, yeah, anniversary people maybe if they're like coming back because they haven't played the
Mm-hmm.
game in a while, and so they come back for the anniversary, and then right after that they stay. So it's essentially like a two patch whammy,
Right.
like anniversary, and then right after that you have collab plus because they said like big thing happens every 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
That was what the dev said. Like every 6 months, their goal is to put out like something big, which is kind of crazy considering the fact that 3.1 was basically like another 3.0.
Pretty much.
Because the Frostlands is very substantial, and the story also was very substantial, and so yeah, I think it could work that way.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of my theory. Now the question is like, what are we gonna get? Because
Who
I've
knows?
played the game, I have not watched the anime, and so at some point I'll check the anime out. But yeah, like I know like the characters. I don't know like
Right.
about
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
characters, but I do know who the characters are. And what's her name? Lucy, I think.
Yeah, Lucy is the main chick, and then you got Rebecca is like the
Rebecca.
small one
Yeah,
with the very fiery
with the
personality.
big, yeah, the big
Yeah.
hands, the big gauntlets or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
She reminds me of a character named Mika from Grand Blue. No, not Grand Blue. What was it? Blaze Blue Cross
Oh
Tag
yeah,
Battle, and
Blaze
her
Blue.
name was
Yeah.
Mika. And she was kind of like a small girl, but she had like really big hands.
Mm-hmm.
I think she was a charge character too. She was fun. Um, but yeah, Lucy, she was actually in Guilty Gear.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
had a
yeah, yeah,
collab.
yeah, yeah. I remember seeing that. Yeah, Strive the
Yeah, and I was
collab.
like, yo, yeah, that looks
Yeah, it was
so
dope.
cool. Guilty Gear Strive. And I was like, man, like seeing a kit like that in Wuthering Waves would be so cool.
It would be.
So I don't know if we're getting characters or if it's just like because I know we had the Sonic collab and the Persona. So
Right.
I don't know the nature of the collab, but like they made a pretty big deal about it. So I feel like if PGR is anything to go off of, I feel like we're probably gonna get some characters
Oh yeah, for sure. I definitely think they're gonna be cooking with that. As for like the
and
timing
David
of
as
it,
well.
I think probably I'm sort of like in the same camp with you. Possibly like anniversary or close to it, or close after it. The other potential time frame I was thinking of is maybe potentially like in a 3.8, potentially leading into like say a new Federation area, for example.
No, yeah, yeah, and that could work too. When did they announce it? I'm trying to remember. Didn't they announce it in 2.4
Two
or or the
points.
anniversary
Yeah, yeah,
essentially?
like around 2.4. Yeah, because that was like Summer Games
Because
Fest.
2.3 is the anniversary. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I, I I guess in my mind, I'm just like, why would you announce it that
Early. Yep.
early? Like, I feel like a year out is good because if it's like the end of 3.8, y'all could
Mm-hmm.
have just waited to tell us that this summer.
Probably. Yeah.
So that's what, yeah, to me, it feels like, yeah, okay, that makes more sense if it's happening close, like I said, to the anniversary or right after in 2.4. So yeah,
Yep.
yeah, I mean it should be cool. I know like we've seen a couple urban environments. I mean
Mm-hmm.
obviously like Hanami being a little bit of that
Yep.
and we've seen there was this piece of art and I don't know where it is. I saw it back in the day. I think they showed it off right back during like 1.4, right before 2.0 kind of came. And it was a picture of Camellia sitting up against like a tower or something. And in the distance, there was like this really tall tower. It was like very like a glass tower or something like
Right.
that, like skyscraper. And I was like, yo, this looks like New Federation.
Yep.
Like this looks like what New Federation is supposed to be. I remember that piece of art. It was official art too from Wuthering Waves. I just don't know how to find it. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen it in a bit, but yeah, yeah, New Fed. Very much looking forward to that. I'm not gonna lie though, I don't know. Like we could end up going to Ashinohara or New Fed at this point. It's kind of
Who knows?
anyone's
Yeah.
guess. Because like I said this, Ashinohara has way too many soundtracks in my opinion for such a small area.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. With Onami. Yep.
I was just like, they put this many soundtracks in this small little area. Like that's like the amount of soundtracks of almost like a region
Mm-hmm.
with like how many tracks they had. And so it almost made me think like, okay, maybe this is just setting us up for going to Ashinohara then, and like we'll hear some similar soundtracks because like that I don't know, that just surprised me. Like this small little area in one patch ends up having like 17 songs, or I think it's like 19 if you
Right.
consider some
Yeah.
other parts. Um,
Like, actually, I could
yeah,
get you the actual number because I actually have the entire soundtrack for that specific one. I was
okay,
Chisa's patch. Where is it? Dawn over the ruins. We got 32 song. Well, 30 28 actually, because there was like 5 or 6 that are repeating of like different language versions of like the Chisa theme. So like
yeah,
28 plus Slashing Bloom, so like 29, 30, yeah.
yeah. Because when I saw a list too, it had like these other two tracks that were
Mm-hmm.
technically like maybe not official tracks, but it was like this one track that played when we talked to the Phantom of the Gentleman that
Right.
we saved in the subway station, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And there was like a soundtrack that played when we talked to him, and then there was another soundtrack. but then they also had like distorted versions
Yeah.
of the soundtracks and stuff like that too. So, but yeah, point is, it's a lot of tracks just for that one small little area. So it kind of had me wondering, like maybe Ashitahara is next because they
Hmm.
put this much effort into the Japanese region essentially
Pretty much.
this soon. So yeah, that's might be the reason. But like I said, at the end of the day, we'll see.
Mhm.
We'll see.
Yep. So yeah, that was basically everything I had for today. Thank
Right
you
on time,
again
actually, too.
for coming along, Life. I really appreciate you having you on the channel and so forth. And definitely, there's a lot of stuff that we went over to think about and mull over.
No, absolutely, for sure. And like I said, thank you for having me, Kane. Appreciate you. Yeah, like I said, Wuthering Waves is definitely it's going in a good direction. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully, you'll check out the video I have coming up soon
Yep.
because I think that's gonna be it's gonna open some minds and some different perspectives. I probably gave you all some different perspectives throughout this conversation as well. But yeah, like I said, thank you so much. Definitely had a good time.
Yep. Thanks, and have a good one. Peace.
All right, peace.